Have you ever wondered why some people seem to navigate life with calm, clarity, and resilience, even in the most chaotic times? What if the secret isn't in medicine or therapy alone, but in habits so simple, so hidden, that society never taught? You too notice them? Today you will discover practices that quietly heal the mind, reduce anxiety, and reconnect you to the world around you in ways that feel almost magical. Imagine feeling lighter, more focused, and emotionally grounded every single day without drastic changes or expensive interventions. These habits don't just improve your mental health. They ripple outward, positively impacting your relationships, your work, and the communities you care about. Can you feel the pull of possibility, the curiosity, urging you to learn more before another moment passes by unnoticed? What if the choices you make today, even small ones, could transform not just your mind, but the world around you? This video is designed to awaken awareness, spark reflection, and ignite subtle but powerful shifts in your daily life. Every insight shared here is a tool for empowerment, a bridge between knowing and doing, between thought and transformation. Before we dive in, I want to invite you to become part of this journey. Subscribe to the channel to stay connected, comment below to share your thoughts or experiences, leave a like if this resonates, and share this video with someone who deserves to feel this shift in their life. Your engagement doesn't just help the channel, it spreads healing and awareness to those who need it most. Now, get ready. What you are about to discover has been quietly overlooked, hidden in plain sight, waiting for you to notice. The habits revealed here are simple, yet their impact is profound. Stay with us until the end, because missing a single step could mean losing the key to a mind finally free, clear, and connected. Asterisk Habit 1. Connecting with nature. Do you remember the last time the wind whispered through your hair and your mind did not resist its call? There is a language in the rustle of leaves, a cadence in the gentle sway of branches that speaks directly to the corners of your mind most neglected. It is not mere scenery. It is a mirror reflecting the chaos and the calm within. Do ignore. It is to turn away from a teacher that has always been patient, silent, and exacting in its lessons. Can you feel the tension in your chest, the quiet resistance, as if your mind knows that something is about to shift? Each step into the green is a step into a forgotten chamber of your psyche, a room where cluttered thoughts dissolve under the weight of sunlight. How many of your anxieties have you carried like stones unexamined, while the world around you offered its own rhythm, waiting for recognition? There is a subtle transmutation in noticing the texture of bark, the scent of wet earth, the delicate balance of ecosystems that operate without your interference, yet demand your attention. Could it be that this simplicity, so often dismissed, is the key to unspoken healing? The mind that observes the unfolding of a flower, the rise and fall of a bird in flight, begins to recalibrate. It learns the patience it has long abandoned, the curiosity it once possessed, before the noise of the world numbed its senses. There is an invisible alchemy in witnessing growth, decay, and rebirth, an understanding that time itself is a partner in transformation. Can you feel it stirring beneath your ribs, a quiet pulse of recognition that something essential has been dormant within you all this time? Notice the tension dissolve with each deliberate breath as you align your rhythm with the natural world. The chaos of human expectation begins to fade as you synchronize with patterns older than memory. And yet, the world whispers contradictions. Calm invites confrontation. Simplicity demands complexity. It is here, in these contradictions, that the mind encounters its own resilience, discovering spaces within itself that were always waiting for courage to arrive. Have you ever considered that every anxious thought you nurture is a shadow, a mirror of disconnection from the environment that sustains you? Each neglected tree, each overlooked path, each ignored sunrise reflects back fragments of tension and imbalance. To step into awareness is to illuminate these shadows, to let the mind breathe in the subtle life that surrounds you. Do you feel the subtle shift, the tug of possibility, as the ordinary becomes extraordinary in its capacity to heal? The body remembers the feel of earth beneath fingertips, the resonance of leaves underfoot, the cadence of water in a stream. It is a remembrance. older than words, older than fear. In these moments, the mind is invited to surrender control, to release the habitual striving that has tightened its grasp for far too long. Can you sense the invitation? The quiet insistence that attention, when given fully, transforms perception into medicine. And yet resistance lingers. There is a part of you that doubts, that questions the relevance of this connection, that suspects the mind cannot be healed by mere observation. This doubt is necessary, a friction that sharpens perception, forcing the mind to engage rather than passively receive. Could it be that the tension itself is the doorway, the friction that catalyzes a deeper recognition of interdependence between you and the living world? Every sensation, every color, every sound becomes a point of entry into awareness. The rustling of leaves, once ignored, now forms a symphony of guidance. The mind, trained to categorize and dismiss, begins to feel, to register, to awaken. There is a subtle thrill in this awakening, a tremor that hints at the vast potential hidden within the ordinary. Are you listening, or are you merely skimming the surface of what your own consciousness is eager to reveal? The invisible threads connecting your mental state to the cycles of nature tighten with each mindful step. Anxiety unravels, tension softens, and clarity begins to emerge from the undergrowth of habitual thought. This is not an abstract idea. It is a tangible sensation, a recalibration that the mind recognizes even if the rational self resists acknowledgement. Can you feel the pull toward something greater than your immediate perception, current beneath the surface, waiting to sweep you into insight? By immersing yourself fully, without distraction, without judgment, the ordinary transforms into a vessel for transformation. Each breath, each glance, each step becomes a ritual of reparation and renewal. The mind begins to remember its connection to life, its intrinsic link to rhythm, flow, and harmony. And in this remembrance, there is a subtle revolution, quiet, yet unstoppable, where the healing of the mind is inseparable from the embrace of the natural world. Asterisk. Habit 2. Mindful consumption. Have you ever wondered what truly enters your body beyond the visible? The food you eat, the water you drink, the air you breathe all carry whispers of intention, unseen currents that affect the delicate chemistry of your mind. What if each choice, seemingly insignificant, is silently scripting the patterns of thought you cannot yet name? Can you feel the unease, the subtle tension, as the truth insinuates itself without explanation? Every bite, every sip, every moment of consumption is a conversation with your inner self. Do you realize how often this dialogue is ignored, overridden by convenience, habit, and distraction? The mind absorbs more than nutrients. It absorbs energy, emotion, and intent. What if the act of mindful eating could recalibrate not just your body, but your mental landscape, healing shadows long ignored? Notice how processed routines and mechanical habits dull perception. There is a hunger beyond taste, a craving for clarity that convenience cannot satisfy. Can you sense it? The subtle agitation that rises when your mind recognizes its own neglect? To engage with your intake consciously is to acknowledge the intimate connection between nourishment and thought, between sustenance and serenity. Imagine holding each morsel with reverence, tasting each nuance, and feeling the rhythm of life within it. How different would your mind feel if it were allowed to digest not just food, but intention, awareness, and care? The act becomes sacred, a ritual that unravels tension and cultivates presence. Do you feel the pull toward this hidden discipline? The tension between old habits and the invitation to transformation? There is a paradox in consumption. The more mindless it becomes, the more it fractures your inner equilibrium. But mindful choices, deliberate and observant, carry a ripple effect that resonates far beyond digestion. Can you sense the unseen? Network of consequences, threads that tie your internal state to every external decision you make, every silent intention you harbor. Each habit of attention, each pause before action becomes a needle stitching the fabric of clarity. The mind, starved for recognition, begins to open. Shadows of anxiety, fatigue, and confusion soften under the light of awareness. Can you feel the subtle expansion? The quiet surge of control? Returning not through force, but through presence and observation? Resistance lingers, as always. The old patterns whisper of ease, of avoidance, of familiar numbness. But the mind, that notices, that questions, that tastes and breathes consciously, begins to reclaim agency. Do you feel the internal friction, the tension that is neither pain nor comfort, yet insists on being felt? This is the threshold, the liminal space, where transformation begins. There is a delicate alchemy in mindful consumption, thought and nourishment. Intention and intake converge to recalibrate the nervous system. Each deliberate choice becomes a subtle act of self-repair, a quiet rebellion against chaos. Feel the resonance deep in your chest, the awareness expanding outward, touching corners of perception previously ignored. The ordinary act of eating, of drinking, of choosing, becomes extraordinary when infused with attention. A single conscious meal can illuminate patterns, reveal dependencies, and uncover hidden cravings that extend far beyond hunger. Are you aware of the power contained in such simplicity, the profound influence on your emotional and mental equilibrium? By integrating this awareness, a shift occurs. The mind becomes an observer of its own impulses, a gardener tending the soil of thought. Anxiety diminishes, clarity rises, and subtle joy threads through ordinary routines. Each mindful act compounds, each conscious choice reinforces the rhythm of wellness. Can you feel the undercurrent of possibility, the quiet revolution that begins not in extraordinary gestures, but in the seemingly mundane acts of daily life? Asterisk, Habit 3. Daily movement and physical awareness of. Paragraph says, have you ever felt trapped inside your own body? As if the walls of muscle and bone were confining the flow of thought itself? Movement is not just motion. It is a language, a dialogue between mind and matter, a rhythm that speaks to the deepest cells of your being. What if every unperceived tension, every stiffness, every ache was a message, ignored for far too long, a silent whisper of imbalance? Each step, each stretch, each deliberate motion is a statement of presence. The body remembers what the mind forgets. The harmony of circulation, the poetry of rhythm, the subtle symphony of breath and heartbeat. Have you noticed how stillness can amplify chaos? How the lack of motion deepens the shadow of anxiety? To move consciously is to reclaim sovereignty over the body and, by extension, the mind. There is a sacred dialogue in motion. The rise and fall of limbs, the torque of spine, the flex of muscles, they carry histories, both remembered and forgotten. Can you sense the latent memory locked in your posture, the tension held in forgotten corners? Movement awakens these echoes, releasing them, inviting clarity where confusion once dwelled. Imagine your breath synchronized with every deliberate gesture, flowing like water through every joint, every sinew, every cell. The mind, previously clouded by static habit, begins to recalibrate. Can you feel the subtle current, the pulse of life moving within, bridging thought and flesh, chaos and calm, fear and resolve? Even simple gestures, walking barefoot on soft earth, raising arms toward the sky, bending slowly to touch your toes, carry transformative power. They reconnect you to rhythms older than memory, awaken sensations dulled by inactivity, and evoke awareness that transcends logic. Are you aware of the invisible threads connecting your physicality to the emotional landscape of your mind? Resistance emerges, as always, a tension between inertia and curiosity. The mind protests against effort, against unfamiliarity, against the surrender required to inhabit the body fully. Yet within this friction lies opportunity, the threshold of self-realization where motion becomes medicine, where tension becomes insight, where ordinary gestures evolve into rituals of mental recalibration. Notice the subtle dialogue between discomfort and release, between effort and flow. Every deliberate movement is an act of reclamation, a signal to the mind that it is not a passive observer, but a participant in its own healing. Can you feel the quiet revolution brewing, the recalibration occurring without fanfare, the subtle restructuring of perception and emotion? The body, when engaged fully, teaches patience, discipline, and presence. It speaks a language of immediacy, of feedback, of cyclical understanding. Have you listened closely enough to recognize the cadence, the pulse, the lessons hidden within? Simple acts of motion. Awareness is not found in complexity. It is uncovered in intimate attention to what is already present. Even brief moments of conscious activity ripple outward, influencing thought patterns, emotional stability, and the clarity of perception. What seems trivial stretching, walking, shifting, posture, becomes profound when approached with intention. Can you sense the deep, almost imperceptible shift occurring, the mind recalibrating in response to deliberate engagement with the body? Inhabiting the body with awareness, you awaken a symbiotic relationship between mind and flesh. Energy flows more freely, thoughts untangle, and subtle joy threads through the nervous system. The active movement, so often dismissed, becomes an anchor, a pulse, a reminder of presence, connection, and the innate intelligence embedded within both mind and matter. Can you feel it, even now? The quiet hum of possibility waiting beneath the surface, ready to transform each ordinary day into a landscape of healing. Asterisk habit 4. Digital detox and mental space. Sheer paragraph so's. Have you ever felt the quiet invasion of constant screens? A subtle pressure tightening around your thoughts, fragmenting attention into invisible shards? Yes. The digital world whispers endlessly, yet rarely offers nourishment, only distraction, only shadows disguised as connection. What if the relief you seek is not found in scrolling, but in deliberate absence, in letting the mind breathe in silence? Can you feel that tug? Inside, a mix of fear and curiosity, pulling you towards something unspoken yet urgently needed. Every notification, every ping, every endless feed carries a hidden weight. The mind absorbs, often unconsciously, waves of information, emotion, and expectation that erode calm. What if stepping away, even briefly, is an act of reclamation? A gesture of sovereignty over your own awareness? Pause for a moment and sense the tension that dissolves, clarity that rises when the noise is stripped away. Imagine your thoughts unshackled from constant interruption, stretching like unbounded branches reaching skyward. The mental fog lifts slowly, revealing patterns, connections, and subtleties that have been buried beneath digital clutter. Can you feel the expansion, the room for reflection, the emergence of insights previously stifled by perpetual engagement? Silence is not emptiness. It is an invitation. It asks for courage, patience, and attention. In the absence of constant digital stimuli, the mind meets itself, its fears, desires, regrets, and hopes without disguise. Can you hear the subtle echoes, the whispers that have always existed beneath the hum of notifications now allowed to surface, demanding recognition? Resistance is natural. The pull of habit, of comfort, of perpetual distraction tugs insistently. But there is a quiet power in choosing presence over noise, in reclaiming mental space as a sanctuary rather than a battlefield. Can you sense the tension between old patterns and new awareness? The delicate friction where transformation begins to crystallize. Even brief detachment carries profound impact. A single hour, without scrolling, without notifications, can reset neural patterns, calm the nervous system, and restore clarity to scattered thoughts. What seems like absence is in fact presence. The presence of awareness, the presence of self, the presence of a mind attuned to its own rhythms. Consider the spaces you inhabit digitally. How many are filled with expectation, comparison, and subtle anxiety? Each moment of intentional withdrawal is a reclamation, a gesture that signals to the mind that it matters, that its boundaries are respected, that its equilibrium is a priority. Can you feel that subtle release, the quiet liberation from invisible chains? The mind, when granted space, begins to notice patterns that were previously invisible. Anxiety softens, focus sharpens, creativity emerges, and subtle joy threads through. Awareness. Can you sense the rhythm of your own thoughts? now allowed to move freely, reconnecting with an intelligence that screens have long obscured. Digital detox is not avoidance, it is recalibration. It is a return to the raw, unmediated experience of thought, perception, and emotion. Even small pauses, small silences, accumulate into profound internal shifts. Can you feel the invisible architecture of your consciousness being restored? Brick by brick, breath by breath, in the quiet moments between engagement and detachment. By consciously stepping away from screens, the mind rediscovers its innate spaciousness, its clarity, and its capacity for deep reflection. This habit, deceptively simple, becomes a vessel for resilience, emotional stability, and profound self-awareness. Can you feel it now, the subtle hum of possibility? The quiet revolution occurring within, invisible yet unstoppable, as the mind reclaims its rightful domain of peace and insight. Habit 5. Gratitude and reflective journaling. Shirling. Have you ever paused, truly paused, to notice the subtle gifts scattered throughout your day, unnoticed, unacknowledged, yet persistent in their quiet insistence? Gratitude is not a polite nod to existence. It is a radical confrontation with the unnoticed, a declaration that your awareness can reach deeper than suffering, deeper than expectation. Can you feel the tension rise, the dissonance between what is seen and what is felt, pulling you toward recognition? Each thought recorded, each fleeting sensation written with intention, becomes a bridge between the conscious and the subconscious, a pathway to insights buried beneath habit and noise. What if the act of journaling, so simple in appearance, holds the key to unlocking patterns, dissolving anxiety, and illuminating truths previously hidden? Can you sense the quiet tremor within, signaling that something profound is about to shift? Reflection asks for honesty, a willingness to confront both beauty and pain without flinching. Gratitude demands attention, a noticing of subtleties often dismissed. The color of morning light, the texture of a hand, the resonance of a word. Can you feel the tension between reluctance and curiosity? The pull that invites engagement with life itself in its raw, unfiltered form? Every written phrase, every deliberate acknowledgement becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of your mind. The anxiety that once seemed unmovable begins to soften. Patterns of thought untangle and clarity emerges like dawn breaking across a dark landscape. Do you sense it? The subtle shift, the awakening of perception that has been dormant, waiting, only for recognition? Resistance rises, as always. The mind protests, claiming busyness, distraction, or futility. Yet in each act of attention, in each moment of deliberate noticing, the mind discovers its own power, its capacity to organize chaos, to find meaning in fragments, to reclaim a voice lost in the noise of daily life. Can you feel the friction? The tension that marks the threshold of transformation. Gratitude and journaling are not mere habits. They're rituals of reclamation, ceremonies that weave together memory, perception, and emotion into a coherent, luminous thread. Each acknowledgement, each insight becomes a quiet victory over neglect. A tangible proof that attention alone can shift the inner landscape. You sense the emerging resonance, the subtle orchestration of mind and heart. Even small acts accumulate. A single note of appreciation, a single reflection, can alter the architecture of your thoughts, recalibrate emotional responses, and illuminate pathways once invisible. The ordinary becomes extraordinary when infused with deliberate recognition. Can you feel the power of simplicity, the quiet revolution contained in ink, thought, and breath? There is a paradox here. To see the world as it truly is requires both humility and audacity, the willingness to witness suffering and the courage to acknowledge beauty. Each journal entry, each act of gratitude, tugs at hidden corners of your psyche, revealing connections, patterns, and possibilities that were always present but unseen. Can you feel the pulse of insight, subtle yet undeniable, reverberating within? The mind, when engaged in deliberate reflection, begins to recognize its own capacity for healing. Patterns of anxiety loosen, moments of clarity expand, and subtle joy threads through consciousness like a quiet river. Gratitude transforms perception, reshapes priorities, and cultivates resilience. Do you sense the invisible scaffolding rising within, supporting a mind once fragmented, now increasingly whole? By integrating reflection and gratitude into daily life, the mind discovers a sanctuary, a space where presence, attention, and awareness converge. This is not fleeting peace. It is enduring transformation, a subtle yet unstoppable shift toward clarity, calm, and insight. Can you feel it, the quiet revolution, the luminous thread weaving through your inner world, waiting for each deliberate act to bring it fully into light? Asterisk, the world you inhabit outside is a reflection of the world within, a mirror of your choices, your awareness, your presence. Each habit embraced, each moment observed, sends ripples through the quiet depths of your mind. Can you feel it, the subtle vibration that reminds you are both architect and inhabitant of your inner landscape? Silence, movement, attention, gratitude, they are threads weaving a tapestry of perception previously hidden. The mind, when allowed to meet life with intention, begins to recognize patterns, echoes, and possibilities that were always there. Waiting for acknowledgement, you sense the invisible scaffolding rising beneath the surface of thought, a quiet architecture of clarity and peace. Every act of awareness, no matter how small, compounds into transformation. The air you breathe, the steps you take. The choices you make, they are instruments in a symphony of mind, body, and environment. Can you feel the resonance building? A subtle hum that signals the emergence of something greater than the everyday? Moments of resistance, even shadows of doubt, serve a purpose. They remind you of the distance traveled, the thresholds crossed, the courage required to witness yourself without flinching. Can you recognize this friction as proof that you are alive, evolving, and capable of profound internal alchemy? Habits you have encountered are not mere routines. They are keys to doors long forgotten. Pathways into chambers of your psyche where clarity, calm, and creativity reside. Can you feel the anticipation, the quiet insistence of revelation, urging you to integrate what has been discovered into the fabric of your life? Transformation does not shout, it whispers. It lives in the subtle shifts, the gentle recalibration of thought, the quiet acknowledgement of presence. Can you hear the whisper, faint yet persistent, guiding you toward awareness, toward integration, toward a mind finally at home within itself? To care for the world is to care for the self, and to care for the self is to honor the world. Intentional action, each mindful choice, creates a loop of reciprocity between inner and outer landscapes. Can you feel the elegance of this interconnection? The quiet majesty of life unfolding when attention is devoted fully to both mind and world. The revelations are yours, but only if embraced fully. The mind remembers what it experiences, what it attends to, and what it honors. Can you sense the lingering spark, the thread of awareness that refuses to be ignored? Urging you to continue, to deepen, to act with intention. Now is the moment of invitation. To live consciously, to integrate awareness, to honor both self and surroundings. These are not tasks, but opportunities to transform ordinary existence into profound experience. Can you feel the inevitability of choice, the quiet gravity pulling you toward action that aligns with insight and intention? If you have felt even the faintest tremor of recognition, act upon it. Curate your habits, honor your awareness, and let the world respond in kind. Share this journey with others who seek transformation, comment to awaken dialogue, and subscribe to join a community committed to conscious living. For in each deliberate act, you are not just healing your mind, you are shaping the future of how life itself is experienced.